So before we officially get things started with Shining Time Station, I want to briefly go over two things. One, why exactly I want to talk about Shining Time Station in the middle of all this Thompson Friends discussion, and two, how exactly we're going to be tackling this show. So the main reason I want to talk about Shining Time Station is mainly due to the fact that this actually plays a pretty significant part in Thompson Friends history. This was one of the first instances where Thompson Friends was shown in America. This is how most American audiences and children were first introduced to the franchise of Thomas the Tank Engine and its cast of characters. Not to mention the fact that the very first Thompson Friends movie, Thomas and the Magic Railroad, is basically a feature-length crossover between these two shows, consisting of settings and characters that not only originated in Thomas the Tank Engine, but also Shining Time Station, even a couple returning cast members. So I feel like if we really want to understand what made Thompson Friends so popular and so special, we have to talk about Shining Time Station. Plus, not to mention that I literally said that I would be tackling everything there is to watch of Thomas and Friends. And how we'll be handling this show in terms of recapping, analyzing, and reviewing is basically the exact same way we handle Thomas and Friends. Go through it as quick as possible, so I can get this video up as quick as possible, and we'll basically be going by scene, just like a Thomas and Friends episode, and obviously skipping the Thomas and Friends segments in these episodes because I already talked about them. And one last mysterious third thing that I want to bring up about Shining Time Station before we officially get started is that I discovered this show very similar to how I discovered Thomas and Friends. There were just a bunch of mysterious VHS tapes lying around my house, and a couple of them were Shining Time Station tapes. And where with Thomas and Friends, I ended up watching that all the time, and I would get DVDs that I would find in stores, and occasionally I'd even catch the show on TV. I didn't get any of that with Shining Time Station. Mainly because, one, it didn't last as long as Thomas did, and there obviously weren't any reruns or new DVDs released for a child of the mid-2000s. So literally all I had to go off of were the VHS tapes that my family had. And where with Thomas and Friends, I watched those VHS tapes and those other DVDs over and over and over again to the point where the great majority of them just got abused over time. With Shining Time Station, I think I only watched them like a couple times, and there are very few things that I actually remember about the show, other than the fact that I watched it as a child and that it has similarities to Thomas and the Magic Railroad. But enough of that, let's actually dig into Shining Time Station with Season 1, Episode 1. We open with the show's theme song, which, fun fact, was actually written by Joe Raposo of Sesame Street fame, which makes sense why the song is so dang catchy.
To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
The episode proper opens us with Ringo Starr dressed up in a conductor uniform, sees some people walking by, and then he turns into nothingness. Okay? This is Stacy Jones. She runs the Shining Time Station, and she decided to bring her little nephew in to help, one, clean things up around the place, and two, to generally just show him around the station. She shows him the information booth, the ticket booth, and even the arcade, which has games, music, and even movies. The film they show is a very, very old school animation, which features the can-can, ballroom dancing, and oh, that's it. See, it's it because the dumb kid broke it. The kid, whose name is Matt, by the way, asks if any trains actually come to the station. Stacy says, well, some do, and she plans that eventually there will be tons and tons of trains of all different types of engines that will be stopping by to Shining Time Station once she fixes things up. Then it shows Matt the mural of different types of transportation up on the wall, and then she tells him to go ahead and play some music off the jukebox. And this is where we're introduced to one of the recurring segments on the show, the jukebox, which features a whole bunch of puppets at the band, and they play the music from the jukebox. These puppet segments are literally the only other thing I remember from the show, outside of Thomas, of course, and the character of Stacy, because I do remember the fact that she was, in fact, in Thomas and the Magic Railroad. So the puppets then play the song Working on the Railroad, because get it? It's a show about a train station. Can I just point something out as somebody who loves puppetry? Now, the grand majority of these puppets are marionettes, but take a look at this one guy who is a traditional hand puppet, Punch and Judy style, and he sticks out like a sore thumb when literally all of the other puppets are marionettes. And as technically a puppeteer, that just really bothers me and rubs me the wrong way, and I absolutely can't stand. So we cut to Max cleaning the walls, and then we see tiny Ringo Starr in a conductor uniform return out of nowhere. Alright, this is the character of Mr. Conductor. His role in the series is to basically be the narrator of the Thomas stories per the episodes, even actually being played by the narrator of Thomas and Friends, Ringo Starr. A tradition that would continue in the Thomas and Friends movie, Thomas and the Magic Railroad, where Alec Baldwin plays Mr. Conductor, who was the narrator of the show at the time, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Basically, Mr. Conductor tells Max about an engine that he knows called Thomas, and he then tells him the story of Thomas Gets Tricked, implying that not only Mr. Conductor is the actual narrator of the Thomas and Friends stories, but it also implies that he is indeed a character on the island of Sodor that we've just never seen before. Mr. Conductor has to leave in a hurry, and so he says goodbye to Max. He then goes ahead and tells Stacy about this mysterious little man who lives inside the walls, Stacy believing him, saying that there's wonderful, strange little things at Shining Time Station. We then get introduced to a railroad engineer who's looking to stay at the station in order to work on the railway there, and we also get introduced to his granddaughter. Max tries to tell the granddaughter about the little man in the walls, but she doesn't believe him at first, mainly because Mr. Conductor just doesn't show up. He then shows him the arcade and the fact that there's movies there. She even ends up fixing the whole machine, and the film that they show next is a music video, which is a very music video of music videos. Thomas and Friends, right?
Wow!
Stacy then shows the engineer his own workshop where he can put all of his tools and junk, seriously considering staying at Shining Time Station. Mr. Conductor shows up again, with Max asking where he's been. Mr. Conductor saying that since he is a conductor, he's all over the place in terms of his job. In fact, he just came from working on the railway with an engine named Edward. And so, Mr. Conductor tells Max the story of Edward Helps Out. Mr. Conductor then leaves, with Max asking him if Edward got a new coat of blue. We then see a vaudevillian, banjo-playing tap dancer ask for a ticket to Oklahoma. He dances and plays the banjo, and then he leaves. Okay! The episode ends with the engineer deciding that he wants to stay at Shining Time, saying that there's something to this little station. This episode, I'd say, was a pretty good introduction to the series. We got introduced to a lot of different recurring segments that would, I think, play out throughout the entire series. I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen this show. And we got introduced to several recurring characters that no doubt will become lovable in their own way. And I also think this is so far a nice, fun, slow, but still enjoyable show for little children, much like Thomas the Tank Engine. So, a pretty good episode overall. So today's video will just be a still image of the Shining Time Station logo, mainly because my video files got corrupted, and I couldn't find any good images of it online. So I'm just using the title card. Sorry, guys. It happens. Anyway, let's talk about Season 1, Episode 2, Does It Bite? Basically, this episode starts with Mr. Conductor fixing train schedules because he thinks that they're all wrong. And then Stacy comes in and yells at him, and he's like, the schedules are all wrong. And Stacy's like, stop messing with it. And Mr. Conductor is saying that one station to the other is in seconds. And Stacy realizes that the schedules really were wrong, but Mr. Conductor leaves before she could apologize. And then we meet this character whose literal name is Schemer, and he made the schedules wrong on purpose so that the passengers could spend more time at the station to play his nifty little machines that he owns that are at the station. And then Stacy gets him to leave as a clown walks into the station. Legitimately, a clown walks in and he orders a train ticket, and then he leaves. And then we get to the Matthew story, where the big deal is that he's scared of the engineer that works at the station. And the big message of the episode is to face your fears. And that also ties into the Thomas stories in the episode. That being the two-parter Henry in the Tunnel story, with Ringo Starr in literal tears at how sad this story of Henry really is. And yeah, it's clever in how they were able to tie those in. The film segment of the episode is, I believe it's from the same people that made the teeny itty bitty super guy segments back from Sesame Street that they used to do back in the 80s or something like that, because that animation style is like exactly the same. I do believe those are the same. The jukebox jam segment I think was actually pretty funny and clever. Basically the schemer puts a nickel into the machine, and the band, the hand puppet band member, he's just glad to have a quarter, and they don't even play the song. And Schemer is just trying to get the quarter back. No, it was a nickel. He's trying to get the nickel back. Nickel back. But it's kind of funny because it's literally a nickel. Like, what's he gonna do with the nickel outside of putting in a jukebox? And he gets the nickel back, but what I find super funny is that they don't play the music until after he gets the nickel. And he has already left. And yeah, sorry this video was a little uneven, but I did enjoy the episode. I promise tomorrow's video will be a little bit better, but yeah, that's a decent episode of Shining Time Station. Season 1, Episode 3 opens with Mr. Conductor answering the phone call, which says that a new engine will be arriving at Shining Time Station. Stacy walks in and grabs the phone as the man on the other line tells her the schedule, but she doesn't write it down and she ends up forgetting it. But Mr. Conductor does, but he doesn't give it to her just yet. Stacy tries to put the new schedule down, but she seemed to have forgotten some things. She made a mistake, which is the main theme in the lesson of the episode. So Mr. Conductor tells the kids a story of a time Thomas made a big mistake, telling them the story of a big day for Thomas. Mr. Conductor then leaves for his mountain climbing lessons. At the same time, a man walks into the station wanting a train ticket. But Stacy accidentally gave him the wrong schedule. Harry finds the schedule board, and then Stacy makes the new schedule, but she forgot it all. Luckily, Mr. Conductor pops in and gives her the new schedule, and everything's all handy-dandy. The kids then look at their body parts through a magnifying glass, and then the jukebox band plays Coming Down the Mountain. You know, even though this is a children's show, all I could think about while they were singing Coming Down the Mountain was this.
Comes, 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 comes.
The kids then noticed that Schemer dropped one of the nickels he was collecting from the machines, so they gave him his nickel back by putting it into the picture machine, and it plays a music video which features clips from public domain cartoons that the producers got out of their garbage, which is set to an original song about failure and mistakes, which only kinda is in sync with the animation.
You learn and you learn from your mistakes.
A new schedule is put up, and the man from earlier walks in complaining that she changed the schedule on him, and Schemer also walks in saying that she did a bad job. The kids and Harry then figure out the best way to make Stacy feel better about all of this stress and the mistakes that she's been making is to put on some music and a band, since she wanted a band to play for the new engine. The kids then show their instruments to Mr. Conductor.
Why, with a simple pair of drumsticks, you can make music on a building, on the sidewalk, on the railings.
Now, what would Ringo Starr know about making music? Especially with drumsticks. These jokes are so easy, it kills me. They then show a video about a man taking some drumsticks and banging them on random shit around the city. Do you think that Ringo Starr actually saw this segment of the episode and then he slowly died inside? Stacy's continuing to freak out over the schedule, and so Mr. Conductor tells her another Thomas story, and that seems to make her feel better. The man from earlier walks in to apologize to Stacy, and he sees that the kids have some homemade instruments, revealing that he's actually on his way to a one-man band convention. And so they all play some instruments for the new engine, and then Harry sees a little note from Mr. Conductor. This episode is fine, and it has a really cute and a really simple message that I think kids should really hear, and maybe even some adults need to hear every now and then, that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. The more and more you do something, the better and better you get at it. Like how I keep on getting better and better with videos, hopefully. I don't fucking know, man. We only have one more video left for SteamTember 2022. Season 1, Episode 4 begins with Stacy trying to fix a clock. She asks Schemer if he could help her, but Schemer has other things to do.
By the way, I have right here a brand new antique teapot.
Stacy doesn't want the teapot because it's old, dirty, and broken, so Schemer just leaves it there, and he leaves. I ask if he could have a thing of string, with Tanya asking why he would even want a thing of string and what you could do with it, with Susie telling her that there's lots of things you could do with a string, quoting her grandmother. Then Mr. Conductor shows up and saying that her grandmother never said that. Mr. Conductor used to know Stacy's grandmother, since she used to be the station master of Shiny Time Station, saying that her, along with Stacy, knew how to have fun. He then tells them a Thomas story, which was the first appearance of James. After the Thomas segment, the kids then make roses out of the string. They show them to Mr. Conductor, and Mr. Conductor showed them a stop-motion short film, which is entirely animated out of string, which is very impressive for a 9-year-old to make. Harry then walks in wanting to play a song that's been stuck in his head all day on the jukebox, and then the jukebox puppets sing this song, which is actually sung very nicely.
While the herd is astir over hillside and swale.
After that, Harry tries to fix a sign for the ticket booth with a chain. The chain ends up breaking, so the kids give them a piece of string, and that ends up working perfectly fine. And then after that, Mr. Conductor reappears, seeing that the kids only have a little bit of string left. And there goes Mr. Conductor tells them the story of James and the bootlace. Stacy then frantically looks for the oil to fix the clock before Mr. Conductor tells her that she left it behind the desk. Schemer then walks in, tripping over his own shoelaces. He says that he doesn't need shoelaces anymore, and he rips them off. Kids then give Schemer their last pieces of string so that Schemer can have some shoelaces, and then Schemer gives the kids the teapot. And Stacy ends up turning it into a flower vase for their string flowers, and they fix the clock. This episode was another pretty fun, pretty simple episode of Shiny Time Station. That's just about playing with string and all the different ways you can use string, and it teaches kids to be a bit more creative and useful with string, and I really like that. And folks, that is the end of SteamTember 2022. Thank you guys so much for the amazing reception and support that I've gotten throughout this series. It's been fantastic, and I hope you guys will continue this next year for 2023 when we continue Shiny Time Station and get to Thomas & Friends Season 3. And I hope you guys continue that same energy for all the other videos I have planned in the future that aren't related to Thomas & Friends. Halloween is starting up soon, so I'll have a bunch of fun videos for October. And I also have some other shows. Animalogic is the misadventures of several different puppet characters, myself included. Toon Talk is where I talk about cartoons and comics, including Thomas the Tank Engine sometimes. Happiest Cast on Earth is a show where I review every single Disney movie ever made in alphabetical order. I do some movie vlogs on here sometimes of newly released films and TV shows. And I have a whole second channel called Weird TV where I upload comedy sketches and vlogs. One of them being Thomas and Friends Abridged. So if you really want to see more Thomas and Friends content from me, there's Thomas and Friends Abridged. So if you guys could continue giving me that support you gave me for SteamTember to some of my other projects, that would mean the world to me. But anyway, guys, that'll be it for this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when future videos are uploaded. And if we get to 300 subscribers by the end of the year, then I will make one giant video reviewing every single SpongeBob video game. I'm even wearing a SpongeBob shirt. SpongeBob was my other childhood obsession outside of Thomas & Friends. But if you guys really want to see that video happen, then we're going to have to get the 300 subscribers first. So please hit the subscribe button. And until then, I'll see you later. Bye. For those of you just joining us, here's everything you need to know. For those of you who don't know, back in 2022, I made a series called SteamTember, which was a daily series where every day I would review 2 episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine, a nostalgic recap of one of my favorite shows as a kid. We got through the first 2 seasons last year, along with the first 4 episodes of the Thomas and Friends sister series, Shining Time Station. And the videos did pretty well for the channel, 2 of them being in this channel's top 10 most popular videos. Not to mention, I had a ton of fun going through the Thomas and Friends franchise, episode by episode, and dissecting what's great about the series, what makes it odd, some of its lesser episodes, and some of the stuff that's related to the franchise too. I loved doing SteamTember last year. And we're doing it again! Yes! Welcome to SteamTember 2023. This year we will be continuing Shining Time Station Season 1, going from Season 1 Episode 5 all the way up to the holiday special. And while technically we're going out of chronological order, I do kind of want to put some Thomas in this Thomas and Friends themed month. So we'll be skipping right ahead to Thomas and Friends Season 3 in its entirety, all 26 segments. So you're gonna have to wait a few days, like a good couple of weeks before we get to some actual Thomas and Friends content. We're really starting to focus on Shining Time Station, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to where we actually get to look at Thomas and Friends stuff, because we're only really looking at Shining Time Station so we can understand the movie. So join me for what I like to call SteamTember 2023. Let's do this, bitch. All right, guys, for the first installment of SteamTember 2023, we're going to be trying something a little bit different today. For instance, I'm not in my outfit. Am I really film buff if I'm not in my outfit? Fuck, yeah, I don't care. So, anyway, I'm just gonna have a nice little chat with you guys. I explain the episode as I watch it with you guys. Where normally it's just it's written, the script is written afterwards, but I decided to do this nice little personal experience with you guys. My feet are very cold, by the way. I'm not wearing shoes. So, basically, this episode begins with a ventriloquist coming to the station. The ventriloquist is entertaining the children and the adults. Schemer is like, you should make some money about it. Schemer. So the ventriloquist leaves, and Matt and Tanya are figuring out, how do we work these? How do we make these puppets work? And Mr. Conductor, he's like, well, I know something about trying new things, because James tried something new. And then he tells a Thomas story. After the Thomas segment, Matt and Tanya put on a puppet show. It goes poorly because they didn't know what to do, and Schemer made fun of them because Schemer's a dick. So the two get in a fight about who did it wrong, and then we get to the jukebox segment, which fits with the rest of the episode because they didn't know what song to play, and it sounded terrible. Mainly because the guy on keys wasn't there. Wow! And also what happened is that... What happened? Mr. Conductor introduced a brand new segment called the Anything Tunnel, where go into the tunnel, painted on the wall, and a bunch of random shit happens. Yeah, a bunch of random shit. This ended up being a stop-motion animated short about never giving up and trying things, which is the main lesson of this episode, in case you couldn't tell. Where it was made by the same guys, it looks like, or at least the same visual style, as the teeny bitty little guy segments that used to happen on Sesame Street back in the 80s. And it was really cool. So Matt goes and talks to the grandpa, whose name I can't remember, about the whole situation. And Grandpa gives him a history lesson on the first steam locomotive in America, and how that guy never gave up, even though the locomotive kept on falling off of the rails. And it gave Matt the encouragement to make his own puppet. And Susan also talks to Tanya about how you can make your own little puppet with a sock. So they make their puppets, but they're afraid to put on another show because of being made fun of. So Mr. Conductor tells them another Thomas story with James in it. And then Mr. Conductor tells them to have proper planning for their show after the Thomas story. And so they do that. They put on their show, and the ventriloquists come back. Everyone loves it. They think it's cute. The jukebox plays the song correctly. The ventriloquists leave. Yay! Cute episode! Fun episode! Welcome to SteamTember 2023, bitch! I tried making a video, but then all my footage got corrupted. It's all gone. The episode
was about the kids. They were wanting to go fishing. But the grandpa, he got too busy in order to take them fishing. But by the end of the episode, he manages to take them fishing. The Thomas stories included what else but gone fishing, and also the he was very hot episode. All I really want at this point in time is just for the show to go my way, for it to actually accept anything I want to throw at it for this series I'm working on. This is episode 2 of SteamTember 2023. And my God, things aren't looking good. I don't know what I'm gonna do after this. I don't know how I feel. I was so excited to get back into it because it got a lot of views for the channel. But now I don't know anymore. I don't know what to do.
To disagree, it opens with Tanya wanting Max to go play with her. But Max doesn't want to. He's too busy reading a book that's probably like, I don't know, 12 pages anyway. Then Stacy gets a call from the superintendent of the railway saying, "Hey, Shantam Station doing a damn good job." Tanya still wants Max to go play with her, but then Mr. Conductor tells them to shut the fuck up. I'm trying to reorganize my library, you fucking bitches. And so, in order to teach Tanya a little lesson about being different, Mr. Conductor tells her the story of Thomas and Terrence the tractor. After the Thomas story, Schemer comes by carrying a bunch of empty boxes. Then he says to the kids, "Hey, I don't really have much of a use for these anymore, so how about you kids go ahead and play with these?" So the kids make their own separate little forts because they're still in a bit of a fight. And then Tanya puts some money in the jukebox, and then the juke band plays a nice little song, a nice little ditty. Then Tanya heads over to her grandpa, complaining that Max won't play with her, won't do what she wants to do. And then her grandfather tells her that, hey, if we all want to do the same thing, and if we were all the exact same, then nobody would be very interesting. Tells her story about the railway and how basically everyone who formed it were different as night and day. And it's a nice little story. They hug, and then Schemer gives some pretty bad advice to Max. And then, or was it Matt? I forgot the character's name. Then Mr. Conductor tells him the story of Thomas and Bertie's race. So after that story, the Tanya comes back in and decides to play a little video on the screen thing, and it's a little music video featuring a bunch of animals and about how everyone's different. All these animals are different, and they're really not the same at all. But it's cool because they're all different. They're different creatures. They do things differently. In case you couldn't tell, the message of this episode is it's okay to be different. It's okay to do things differently. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be yourself. Because then Stacy comes in. Stacy comes in and gives a very nice little message to Matt saying, hey, Tanya's entitled to be herself. and you're entitled to be yourself. And then after that, what do you look at that? The balloon salesman comes in and plays a nice little balloon game with Matt and Tanya, and they both enjoy it. And he even sees Matt's book, and he enjoys the book. He loves the book. And then they both have fun with the balloons, and they both have fun reading the book. And everyone's happy. Oh my god. Fun episode. This episode was cute, charming. It's a charming show. It's a charming show. Charming show. Fuck. Whistle while you work starts with all of our main characters. We got Matt, Tanya, and we got everybody else. Everybody else, all the good guys. They're all cleaning the station. The kids are like, "Hey, Mr. Conductor, why aren't you using magic to clean?" And Mr. Conductor's like, "Hey, magic don't do shit when it comes to cleaning. You gotta get those hard to reach spaces." Schemer then comes in. He questions how the clock got so damn clean, but they're all like, "I don't fucking know." And then he's just like, "Hey, well, you kids, we're gonna put up some big old posters over this shitty ass mural we got over here. We're putting posters to cover this piece of shit. I'm out, bitches. And it's gonna promote the arcade." Mr. Conductor then tells the kids the first part of the Troublesome Engines trilogy. Hell yeah. Where the fuck am I? Yo. What? Where'd my jacket and fedora go? What the fuck? Is that why the audio's been so shitty? Oh my god. There's dogs? Dogs? These aren't my dogs. What's that dog doing in the windowsill? Holy shit. Holy fucking shit, man. This isn't my house. This is not my house. What's Thomas gonna think about this? What is the station gonna think about this when we're not in our correct house for filming videos, for making content? What the fuck are we gonna do? Well, I clearly can't think about the episode at this moment because I am going fucking nuts. So, I guess let's review our new surroundings. I got a toothbrush right over here. Who the fuck is Ryan? Not me, because I'm film buff. There's a sink full of dirty dishes. There's a refrigerator with pizza and broccoli and fuck yeah, Ben & Jerry's. Probably shouldn't eat it because I don't know how the fuck I got here. Shit, what else we got over here? We got a dog. It's a nice looking dog. Hey. Oh, you're a very friendly dog. I can see that. Oh, we got another dog right over there. Holy shit, cats. We got a cat right over there. Wow. Wow, this place looks like fucking shit. So yeah, I really liked this episode. I think it was a good time. Very, very good time. There's still fucking dogs out here. It was a good episode. It's very fun. I don't know what the fuck is going on here. This is cartoons, and I'm so fucking drunk right now. Like, I don't. Where am I? So I'm still here, still stuck with these dogs. Alright, guess we might as well talk about the next episode of SteamTember. The episode opens with the kids and Stacy opening up some mail from them, to them. But then Harry gets a little disappointed to figure out that there's no mail for him. Then Tanya remembers that, oh wait, it's my grandpa's birthday. And so they all decide to go ahead and make him a present. They then get him on a wild goose chase to get some things so they can have time to make the present. And they also put on some little working music from the jukebox. And the song is low-key a pretty good bop.
I'd rather marry an engineer.
Oh, can't play the rest because of copyright. Bwomp womp. Mr. Conductor then tells them all the story on Percy runs away. And they're all like, hey, you should probably introduce yourself to Henry. Mr. Conductor's like, oh, I don't think so. I'm a little shy. And the kids are like, don't be silly. Grown-ups can't be shy. And then once Harry gets back, Mr. Conductor starts popping and appearing.
Allow me to introduce myself.
So I can't review the rest of the episode because the middle of it is lost. I can't find it anywhere. That's the funny thing about Shiny Time Station. While making this video, a lot of the videos about it were just taken off of YouTube. So, especially this episode. So, shortest episode of SteamTember ever, am I right? Back in my house. Happy Accidents opens with Harry getting a call that one of the trains has been delayed from 9 o'clock to 11. The kids are also going ahead and building this little tower with blocks, but Matt keeps on making it fall somehow. Then Stacy comes in with some acrobatic, and Stacy notices that, hey, the schedule's a little wrong. So she changes it back to 9. And that's where the conflict comes in. Because a woman who was supposed to come on that train, who was told that the train was at 11, comes in and sees that it was 9 o'clock. And she thinks she missed her train. Harry and Stacy come in and realize that there was just one big misunderstanding. Schemer's also eating a meatball sub and wants to turn the station into a restaurant for some reason. I don't know why, but he just wants to do it. Also, Mr. Conductor says, "Hey, hello, I'm Mr. Conductor, and I'm gonna tell you a Thomas story. It's a Thomas story." I did not like that Thomas episode, by the way. If you remembered, that was not a good episode. And then after that, Mr. Conductor's like, hey, you want to know what's the best way to cheer up Susie? Make a rhyme. Make a poem to her. So they make a poem to her. She likes the poem. And then they're just rhyming now. And the Schemer's starting to rhyme. And he hates the fact that he's rhyming all the time. And that they're rhyming. Puts a dime in the jukebox. Jukebox won't play because it's a dime, and the Schemer's a dick. But then Schemer leaves, and then old grandpa tells him how important the railway is and how important working like a team is, and then the jukebox just works now. Then Mr. Conductor falls off his roof trying to repair it. Then he tells Henry and the Kipper, whatever the fuck that episode was called. That's the one that... Mia! Get back in here. Come on. We are officially halfway through Shining Time Station Season 1. It's got 10 more episodes left to get through. Why did I do this? Why did I make myself watch Shining Time Station? I don't know why, but getting through this show has been a lot harder than getting through Thomas and Friends. Not that it's a bad show, it's just that I can't get myself to watch it. It's a good show for kids, but I find myself getting annoyed with some of the characters, and particularly Schemer.
Do you like Shiny Time Station? No? Do you want to sparkle, sparkle, sparkle with us? Do ya? Do ya? No. We will not sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. We will never be sparkle, sparkle, sparkling until the day we die. You hear me, bitches? No sparkles. No spark.
Rigging the Old opens with Schemer trying to get rid of an old arcade machine because it is old and stupid. Unlike Henry, who's old but not stupid. And then Stacy tells the kids, oh, just because you're old on the outside doesn't mean you have to be old on the inside like some losers out there. Speaking of old, the kids watch some old cartoon on some not VR device. And then Mr. Conductor says, you like old? Let me tell you about an old guy I know. His name is Toby. It's Toby the Tram Engine. What is it with this show? Either my footage gets corrupt or I can't find the episode or a hard drive just fails or so many technical issues happening. Like, I'm recording this in August. Oh my god, why am I recording this in August? Why didn't I start sooner? Why didn't I do more? Why?
Can't escape. I can't escape. Why can't I escape? Can somebody please tell me why I can't fucking escape the tank?
The multiverse. There's no such thing as the multiverse. You're silly. Parallel dimensions. Infinite universes. Infinite possibilities.
I'm not in a different location. I don't know what you're talking about.
This isn't a completely different room than the rest of SteamTember. Those aren't the guys sitting there. Those aren't the Lego guys sitting there. No. Let me tell you a secret. Alright? Let me tell you a secret. Turn these on. Alright? Then I'll tell you my secret. Okay. Get this. So do you remember the Transformers Rise of the Beast vlog? And also, do you remember the Barbenheimer Experience vlog? And do you remember the third episode of Animal Logic, the animated series? Time Warp. All of that. That was me. The whole time. That was me. Yup. Mm-hmm. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Gendar. I have been corrupting SteamTember this entire time. That is why this year has been weird. Because I'm not running it this year. And so I am going to make it a living hell for film buffs. Yes. And what will happen to the multiverse? You're just gonna have to wait and find out, motherfucker. Impractical Jokes opens with Stacy trying to fix a telegram, but she cannot fix the telegram. Oh no. Then Mr. Conductor shows up. Mr. Conductor is playing a game of golf, or at least he is trying to, on the island of Sodor. He then tells a Thomas story. After the story, Stacy still can't get the freaking telegraph to work. She then explains to the kids why it's so important and what the fuck it even is to begin with. Uh-oh, here comes Schemer, looking rather dapper, I might add. His hair is actually looking like it's supposed to be, like hair is made. He's trying a new comedy act. It doesn't go very well.
That is what practical jokes are all about. What do you girls know?
Hey, cool it on the sexist remarks. Casey then tells the kids that while Schemer may be a little obnoxious, he is harmless at the end of the day, and at least he gives them a good laugh, teaching them to accept the bad along with the good in a person. Then Mr. Conductor shows up, saying, "Hey yo, I just missed out on the tennis tournament because nobody showed up." He then shows the kids a little stop-motion animation, which involves a monkey going through a museum, and all the paintings are alive and are making silly faces at the monkey. Night of the Museum, who? Then Harry shows up, and he also brings a friend with him, who surprisingly doesn't have an over-the-top gimmick like we've seen with basically every other guest at this train station. He's just a musician who likes to sing songs about the railway. He's not a very good actor, but hey, at least he sings a nice little song.
Corduroy britches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging hitches. I was working on the railway.
Stacy and Henry try to fix the telegraph and are having a little disagreement, but the kids think that they are fighting. Mr. Conductor says no they're fucking not, and tells them another Thomas story. And then... Wait a minute. Why am I in the Animalogic house? Why am I wearing a completely different outfit? And why the frick was Gendar in the last episode? What is going on here? Look, there's gotta be some type of explanation for this. I don't know what it could possibly be, but there has to be something, right? SpongeBob? Rex? Kermit? Where the fuck is everybody? I guess Gendar really is messing up the show this year. Okay, Gendar. Try and do it next time. I promise. In the next episode, there will be zero interruptions. No interruptions, no technical difficulties, nothing. Everything will go according to plan for tomorrow's episode. I realize, if you're watching the supercut, that sentence didn't make any damn sense. Finders Keepers opens up with Stacy returning a piece of luggage to a woman. However, a schemer tries to get the woman to spend money at the arcade rather than head to her train. The woman leaves. The kids tell Stacy that somebody left their suitcase up on a platform. However, Stacy tells the kids to just put the thing in the lost and found, and maybe, just maybe, they'll come back for it. However, the kids hear Mr. Conductor yelling and screaming since he is trapped in one of the suitcases. Don't know why he doesn't just use his magic to get out of there, but okay. The reason Mr. Conductor was in there is because he was looking for his pocket watch, and now he is covered in carpet pieces. And so he tells the kids a Thomas story, which just so happens to be the one where Thomas was fucking racist.
Blue is the only proper color for an engine.
That's racist!
After the story, Mr. Conductor tells the kids that he needs a big old bucket of soap and water that he can dump in so he can get all the shit off of him. The kids then yeet some luggage over at the Lost and Found, and out pops a saxophone. They then start messing around and playing with it, much to the disapproval of the jukebox band. Schemer then comes in and also tries to play it badly. The kids then put away the saxophone. Then Henry walks out and realizes that Tanya is wearing her grandmother's necklace. That's Henry's wife. He then talks about how he met her, which, surprise, surprise, happened on a train, in a sleeping car. Exactly. Schemer then walks back in, introducing the latest film in the picture machine, which just so happens to be an animated short about a stop-motion conductor conducting an orchestra. But instead of having people playing the instruments are playing with themselves. Wait a minute! After the film, Henry walks in with a little kid who is looking for his lost saxophone. Stacy says that there is no saxophone. But immediately after the kid leaves, Matt and Tanya arrive with Mr. Conductor's bucket of water. Mr. Conductor then bathes in front of 2 children. This episode's fucking weird. Oh, and it's Thomas time, whatever, we already talked about this shit. After the story, Mr. Conductor notices that Tanya lost her necklace. Why and when did she take it off? We don't fucking know. And why was Mr. Conductor staring at a little girl's chest while he was bathing? And what the fuck is it with this franchise and pedophiles?
Oh, yes, I like children.
The kids and Harry look for the necklace, but they just can't find it. And when all hope seems lost, the kid from earlier comes by with the necklace in hand, returning it. And he also comes back to get his saxophone back. He plays it a little bit, much to the approval of the jukebox band, and they all play a little song together, and everyone's happy and smiling and laughing. This episode was a bit of a mixed bag. There were some neat little moments, and the Thomas segments, of course, were fun, but there was a couple moments where the episode really did drag, and some of the decisions that they made were pretty stupid, even for small children. So, not a terrible episode, but not one of the series' highlights either. Wild About Harry's Workshop opens up with Schemer measuring things in Harry's workshop. It turns out that management of the railway wants to add in a snack bar to Shining Time Station, and Schemer, who's all about the business side of things, is like, oh, sure, we'll add one. But it turns out that the only really place to add one is in Harry's workshop, so that has to go. And everybody in the station is not happy about it. Stacy, who is understandably pissed off, calls management and tells them, hey, how about you don't do that? Then Mr. Conductor shows up, who is dressed to catch butterflies, but in reality he's going to have some tea with them because he is a tiny individual, tells them, you guessed it, an episode of Barney and Friends. And then a Thomas story. After Pingu, Schemer locks up the workshop, and then Harry comes in and sees that there's a lock on his workshop, and it's like, dude, what the frick? And Schemer's like, hey, it's just business, man. Then a pedophile and or private eye looking guy just shows up out of nowhere, and Schemer's like, hey, take a look at my nice beautiful arcade while you're waiting for your train. Yay. Stacy's like, you're a bully, and Schemer's like, no, and then Schemer leaves, and the private eye guy then plays a song on the jukebox. Oh my god, the puppets are so freaking stupid. They look so ugly. I don't like. Why do they look like that? Like, why does the piano guy look like that? It's so bad. Oh my god, why did they make one puppet I had puppet and the rest of the marionettes just choose one or the other? Like, oh my god. After the song, the kids are all talking about how Schemer's a massive bully, and Stacey's like, well, actually, he's not. And so she plays a little film about not being a bully, which doesn't really sync up to the animation all that well, I'll be honest. You can tell that the song was recorded like 40 years after this animation. So Henry's demanding his job back, and Schemer's like, whatever. But then one of the machines starts to break down, and Schemer's like, hey, Harry, can you fix this? And Harry's like, nope. And then after that, Mr. Conductor tells us another episode of Bluey. After Tug, Schemer is complaining about how nobody wants to fix the machine, and Harry comes in like, hey, how about you give me my job back? And Schemer's like, yeah, how about we not do that? But it turns out the Ninja Turtle in disguise works for the railway, and he's like, hey, Schemer, your arcade's pretty fun, but give Harry his fucking job back. And he's like, okay, fine. So this episode was pretty alright. We get to see Schemer at his most nastiest in the series so far, where he's straight up firing Harry for profits rather than logistical reasons, and everyone's rightfully pissed about it, you know? And, you know, it gets a nice little lesson for the kids. It's a good episode. This was a good episode. I liked it, you know? let me tell you about Schemer. Let me tell you about Schemer, guys. Let me tell you about it. Schemer is fucking annoying. So, Season 1, Episode 15, Promises. I can't find this episode. Which is kind of difficult seeing on how this series is supposed to be me going through the entire series and the entire franchise of Thomas and Friends episode by episode. And I can't find one of the episodes. There's not even anything in this mug. So what I decided to do instead is just talk about the franchise. Let's talk about Thomas the Tank Engine. So I've been on and off interested in Thomas the Tank Engine for basically my entire life. As I've already said, I loved the show as a kid. I had all the toys, as many of the DVDs and VHS tapes I could get my hands on. Occasionally I'd watch it on television. Had some of the original books that the show was based off of. Had a lot of the tie-in books that were based off of the show. I fucking loved this series. I would also watch the movies. And like annually, I would watch every single film that would come out. Every single new direct-to-video animated film that would come out of the CG era up until like 2013's Blue Mountain Mystery. I believe that's what it was called. And I thought that one was really cool because it featured the return of the narrow-age engines who hadn't really been in the CG series at all up until that point. And it had references to a lot of the older episodes, which was cool back then. And they were done in the modern computer animation style, which I thought was pretty neat. I believe it had references to Henry in the Tunnel, Percy Takes a Plunge, one of the previous movies. And I think also Gordon Takes a Dip. I forget what the other one was. It's been a decade since I've seen that fucking movie. But like, yeah, the ones after that, just kind of stopped caring because I got older. I was like 10 years old, come 2014. Wasn't interested in Thomas and Friends anymore because I wasn't a little child anymore. I needed to go on to bigger things like Steven Universe. I keep on shitting on Steven Universe. It's a really good show, man. Steven Universe is fucking lit. And then a couple years would go by and I would just stop watching TV in general for really no reason, and I'd mostly spend my time on YouTube, and I started making these videos, and occasionally I'd watch TV, but it wasn't until around 2019 when I really started to get watching television again, start watching whole new stuff again, and not just rewatching a bunch of the old shit I knew. I got back into watching cable television. And that was basically my TV journey. And none of this has anything to do with Thomas and Friends. It's just that somewhere in between that era, I got a little nostalgic for Thomas the Tank Engine, the model series, really. And I started looking back at some older episodes and felt nostalgic because I got all those memories back and they held up pretty well. It wasn't just nostalgia talking, you know? And I forgot to mention that I would also watch YouTubers that would make Thomas and Friends videos where they just make little stories with the toys. Like, y'all remember back in the day, Tommy Thomas and Friends and TNF? That fucking shit. Man, I thought that was the funniest shit ever back in the day before I realized they plagiarized all their jokes. Yeah. And then in around 2019 or 2020, I think it was actually last year, Tomska released his Thomas and Friends video, and that was the inspiration for this series. Tomska's Thomas and Friends video talking about how fucking dark and fucked up the series really is. And I was like, huh, what if I try and do a deeper dive into this? Because now I could have easily just done a couple videos about it, call it a day, but I thought, hey, why not do the whole daily review thing every year? And then it ended up being pretty successful on the channel. Now, I'd have tried doing it back in 2020, where like every day where I didn't upload a real video, I'd have like a horror review. I called it House of Terror. And then the next year came around and I was like, well, I want to try something that's more me, because everyone does the Halloween thing. So I still want to make a Halloween review, but I want to try something that's more me or different. Something I've always wanted to do was a yearly look at Nickelodeon content. Like, I got this idea in like 2018. I just never got around to doing it until 2021. And I would call it Nickvember, be every November, and I would just watch a bunch of Nickelodeon shows and give them my takes. And since Mr. Anders said that he wouldn't be doing Nickorama anymore, I thought that it was fair game. Then he announced that year that he was bringing back Nickorama, and I was like, fuck! So I put that to the side. And then the next year came, and I watched the Tomska video, and I was like, this is it. And thus came SteamTember, and holy crap, it got a lot of views. Here we are today, we're on year 2 of the thing. It's not doing the best, but hey, still getting views. And thank y'all for coming along with this journey with me. Like Thomas and Friends journey. Oh, and while I was working on SteamTember, speaking out of character for a little bit, I started an abridged series because I figured that, you know, making an abridged series of Thomas the Tank Engine would actually be kind of funny and free creatively, because the characters' mouths don't move, so it will be easy to just dub in whatever the fuck I want. Like, you know how easy it is. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen those videos where people took clips from George Carlin's stand-up into the episodes he narrated. And it's like Thomas is calling Percy a fucking bitch or whatever. It's fun. So, and like, stuff like that is basically the tone of Thomas and Friends Abridged. So, very proud for the success of that show. A new season should be coming sometime in September. Holy shit. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, Promises. I have no idea what that episode would be about. Maybe promises. Let's see if the next one I can actually find. My shirt says dumbass. Couldn't find this episode either. Nowhere to be freaking found. Like, I searched all over YouTube, searched all over the internet. I can't find it. Like, luckily, I did do some research ahead of time, and the next episode after this is publicly available on YouTube. It's in really shitty quality because it was uploaded on this site about 17 years ago, so sorry for the viewers from the next episode. But it just begs the question, where are these episodes? How am I going to fill the time? Like, I already told you my Thomas story the last episode, but like, I need to post a video today because this is supposed to be a daily series of the entire series. You know? The entire franchise, even. So, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to find this fucking episode. Join me as I try and search for the missing Shiny Time Station episode. We're going to go all around town, all around the state even. Maybe not all around the state because I don't have the gas money. We are going to find out where the fuck this episode is. And where the fuck the previous episode was too. Because, my god, we need to know where the rest of these episodes have gone. How many fucking times have I said episodes in this one video? We're not even 2 minutes in, goddamn. So, would you guys be kindest to join me on my journey as I try to find the remaining episodes of Shiny Time Station? And by the remaining episodes, I of course mean the one we were supposed to review today and the one we were supposed to review yesterday. So, let's fucking go, bitch. Forgot my damn keys. Alright, we are on the hunt. We are on the hunt for the missing episodes of Shining Time Station. They could be literally anywhere. They could be in this haunted house. Fuck yeah, I'm not going in there. God only knows where the fuck these missing episodes of Shining Time Station could be. Well, and also maybe PBS and Brit Entertainment. But, well, fuck, I don't know, man. I don't know where the fuck these episodes are. Oh, are the episodes in that push? No. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know where the missing episodes of Shining Time Station are?
I have no idea what that is.
Shining Time Station, the children's television series from the late 80s and early 90s, had Ringo fucking Starr and George Carlin on it for some reason. Do you know where those episodes are? I can't find them.
No.
God damn it, man, you know help. What about you, good sir?
What?
Where are the missing episodes of Shining Time Station?
I don't know. Did you check the store?
Oh my god, that's genius. Thank you, boys. We have to check the store. We gotta check the bookstore, motherfucker. Alright, Shiny Time Station, where are you? Well, that was useless. Just a bunch of t-shirts and supplies. It's bullshit. Oh, no sign of Shiny Time Station anywhere in this thing. I believe that we're fucked. The library. God, of course. If the bookstore didn't work, surely the book rental store will work. Fucking Shiny Time Station right now. I know where you're hiding, schemer. You can't run any longer, Mr. Conductor. No, sirree. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the library. We are at the library in order to finally be able to locate the missing episodes of Shiny Time Station. So hopefully, these episodes will be in here. Let's do this, bitch. Fuck. That's the wrong Shining. I just want one person. I just want one person or place to know where these goddamn fucking episodes are. Need to think with Thomas and Friends being such a big property, trying to find episodes of the show would be easier. Trying to find good quality episodes of the show would be easier, but no. Thank you, Britt Allcroft, with your self-insert fanfic character. We'll get to that later. Okay, I have searched everywhere in order to find this damn show. But it turns out nobody knows where it is. Nobody can find these episodes. So I guess I can't review them. Sorry. But then again, who the fuck was coming here for Shine Time Station? What makes you think the views are lower than they were last year, huh? Because we haven't done Thomas and Friends yet. Yeah. Fucking hell, my god. Oh my god, I found them! They were okay. Too Many Cooks opens with the gang finding a mysterious package. It turns out that it is from Schemer. Inside is sandwich bread that is made by him. It's his mother's recipe. He'd sent some to the mayor in order to get all buddy-buddy with him. It turns out he forgot to do that. Oh no. But then the kids get the bright idea to just send in the one they have. And Schemer's like, oh yeah, please. Mr. Conductor says that Schemer's being a little impatient, and would you believe it, he tells a Thomas story. After the story, they all tried the sandwich bread, and it turns out it tastes like asshole, and not even the good kind. Yeah, it turns out that Schemer just used the wrong ingredient.
Mayonnaise, yogurt, garlic salt, lemon juice, white pepper, and cocoa powder.
She meant chili powder. Cocoa powder doesn't go with all these other ingredients.
Oh yeah. And the puppets, they call Schemer just a silly little bastard. And then Harry's like, well, he may be a silly little guy, but he still needs help, and we should help him out because he needs help. He needs help. Schemer comes back in a disguise and hopes that the mayor doesn't recognize him. The kids see through it, but the mayor doesn't because he never met him before. And the mayor's like, hey, I want Schemer because his bread's paste tasted like asshole and not even the good kind. And then he leaves. And sadly, that's where we're going to have to end things today. What? I never said it had the full episode. God. Although we might have the full episode tomorrow. I honestly don't fucking know. This SteamTember has been weird. Episodes have either gone missing, or completely unavailable, or halfway available, or footage has gotten corrupt. Is it Gendar? I don't know anymore, like, to be honest. Fuck it. See you tomorrow. I don't know how this happened, but I lost an episode of this series. An episode of SteamTember. Like, I recorded it, but it just completely disappeared. It was mapping it out. It was like episode 17, I think, and I noticed that it wasn't up, and I tried to upload it before the finale to, like, kind of sneak it in there, but, like, it just wasn't available. So, like, I don't know how this happened, but, like, I could have sworn I published it. Could have sworn it was there, but, like, I don't know how. I genuinely don't know how. This crazy. Like, I finished the video, and it's just not on the channel. It's gone. This just adds fuel to the fire with the many things that went wrong this year. Sorry about this. I genuinely did not plan for this to happen. Like, biggest apologies. This will not happen again. I will make sure of it, and the rest of SteamTember will go smoothly. Thank you for understanding. The episode was about Matt and Tanya and the rest of the Shiny Time Station gang trying to put on a map. And yeah, that's basically what it's about. It sucks because I put a lot of work in that video. It was like 7 minutes. And now it's just gone. Let's just say I reviewed it here. Good episode. Bye. Things That Go Gahooga in the Night is about Stacy having to stay at the station very late overnight and even sleeping there because a train will be arriving very late and somebody needs to be at the station to make sure they get their shit. Harry's like, hey, I made this device that can just get the luggage on there for you so you don't have to be here overnight. Stacy's like, bitch, what if it breaks? And they're like, fuck you then. And the kids are like, oh, I think it'd be kind of scary to stay here overnight. And then they see a fucking hat move, and it's Mr. Conductor, isn't it? I'm telling you, it's Mr. Conductor. Who else? What else could it be other than Mr. Conductor? Oh, by the way, it was Mr. Conductor. And yeah, he told them a Thomas story. And hey, it's Percy's ghostly trick. That's my favorite. You know what? And you know what? Fuck it! I am sick and tired of this fucking show with all the technical errors and technical difficulties and episodes just not being available, not being able to find shit. It really pisses me off, you know? Like, God damn it! The episode was all nice and fun and spooky, though. I really liked the song in it, but goddamn. Nothing happened this time, but like, I'm so fucking tired of all this bullshit that's been happening all year for SteamTember. Lucky for me, we have one more episode left to go through and the Christmas episode, so it's just 2 more and we can be done with this shit for the year. And I can tell you guys are just waiting ever so patiently for me to just be done with Shining Time Station. Because we haven't even gotten a video to get over 100 views in this fucking series this year. At this point, last year, we had 2 videos in the top 10. Most viewed channels. Most viewed videos on the channel. Now that I got my anger out, after the story, Mr. Conductor tells the kids that sometimes he has to sleep around in the station, and he wears pajamas with little choo-choo trains on them. Oh, how cute. I hope we get to see these trains in later pieces of Shining Time Station media. The kids then ask Stacy if they can spend the night at the station with her and Harry, but she needs to talk it over with their parents first. Then, Stacy's friend, whose name I genuinely can't remember, stops by. She can turn paper into anything. And so she makes scary masks for the kids. And then her train leaves. And so Stacy gets the approval from their parents for them to stay at the station. And then Schemer walks by, being like, hey, if you're spending the night at the station, aren't you scared? And the kids are like, nah. And Schemer's like, oh, I'd be scared shitless if I was staying here alone if I was a kid. No blankie, no mommy, no nothing. And then Schemer gets the bright idea to scare the kids. Because, okay, I forgot to mention this earlier because it's never been relevant until now, but Schemer thinks that the station is haunted. So I'm assuming that that is the main reason that he wants to scare the kids. And so he can prove that station's haunted. They spend the night at the station. And at the station. There's no fun. There's no games. There's no songs. No, Thomas. Schemer was right. alive from the monsters. Never stay at Shining Time Station after dark. Happy Halloween. Okay, obviously none of that happened. The kids are spending the night. They're all nice and happy. Mr. Conductor shows up in those pajamas we mentioned earlier. He tells another Thomas story. They play a song. Schemer shows up in a ghost costume. Tries to scare the kids. He gets caught in the machine that Harry made. And then they all sleep on the floor. The end. That's what actually happened. It's not as interesting as what I said, but like, it's not really creepypasta bullshit. Oh, there's my hat! Oh, This Is the End opens with Harry emptying out the lost and found for some reason. And it also features Stacy waving goodbye to the last train of the day for some reason. But it turns out that the reason is the railway has decided to shut down Shining Time Station. It's such a small station that doesn't do the best for business. Once the kids find out, they are devastated. Once Schemer finds out, he's devastated. As a way to try and cheer up the kids, Mr. Conductor tells them a Thomas story.
Oh, yes, I like children.
Oh my god, Trevor, please stop being creepy! After the story, the kids think that Shining Time Station will have a second chance since Trevor got one. Then Schemer shows up in an army uniform and a bunch of wood and hopes to protect the station because talking to management won't work this time, apparently. And it is this moment where Schemer says that he genuinely loves Shining Time Station. And, as a moment of gratitude, he plays a song from the jukebox, His Treat. The song's pretty good. I like it. During the song, we see all of the characters sadly putting away items throughout the station, knowing that they're gonna have to leave soon. After the song, Schemer tries and fails to put up a barrier. Stacy says that the circus train should be stopping by, but will go right past Shining Time Station. Schemer, remembering how much he loved the circus train when he was a kid, literally runs after the train. The kids continue to express their sadness, although Stacy tells them that even though they won't be able to return to Shining Time Station, it will always be a part of them if they just close their eyes and imagine that they're there, because the memories they made along the way will still be with them. Some time goes by and Mr. Conductor shows up with a little hobo stick. The kids are begging Mr. Conductor not to go, but since he's a conductor, he has to go where the trains go. But before he leaves, he tells the kids one last Thomas story. After the story, Mr. Conductor tells the kids that no matter what happens and no matter where they are, they will always be friends. And then he leaves, leaving his hat behind. Afterwards, the superintendent of the Indian Valley Railroad shows up to officially close down Shining Time Station. As everybody there is telling him to not do it, Jerry the juggler from the circus train suddenly shows up. Jerry explains that the circus tries to stop at Shining Time Station and all of the small towns and the small railways on all of their tours so that everybody gets a chance to see the circus. And Stacy explains that it's necessary for Shining Time Station to stay open so that everybody can get a chance to go on the railway. And the superintendent is starstruck by the juggler, so if his favorite juggler is saying to keep the railway open, he's probably gonna keep the railway open. Also, apparently, recognizing Mr. Conductor's hat, he knows who Mr. Conductor is, stating that this is where he lives. So, Shining Time Station isn't the only railway station outside of the island of Sodor. that Mr. Conductor operates in, according to that one line in this episode. So, will we see something like that in the rest of the series? What did I say last year? I don't remember anything about this show outside of just watching it a couple times. So the superintendent decides to keep Shining Time Station open. He goes to see the juggler, and everybody's happy, including Schemer, stating that he loves this railway station. And then he falls. The kids are still saddened that Mr. Conductor didn't show up, but lo and behold, he shows up on a bike with his hat. The episode ends with Stacy and Harry stating once again that there is something about this place, and Mr. Conductor taking a bow. And that is how Season 1 of Shining Time Station ends.
This episode just screams, we don't know if we're going to get renewed or not, so we're just going to write this as if it's the finale, but keep it open-ended just in case we get another season out of this. Not to say that makes this a bad episode, it's just that that's what the general vibe is throughout the majority of it. I'd say as a season 1 finale, this episode is actually pretty good and really enjoyable. I very much enjoyed watching this episode, even though I knew for a fact that Shining Time Station wasn't going to shut down simply because there were 2 more seasons and a movie afterwards with this setting. I just enjoyed myself watching the episode because I like these characters that I've gotten to know over the past 20 episodes, and yeah, it's kind of sad to see them lose their home in a way. But with that said, that is Shining Time Station Season 1. But we will not yet be done with our Shining Time Station discussion for this year, because tune in tomorrow where we will be talking about the 1 hour long special that Wikipedia says is a part of Season 1, but is also listed as a special in between. But, so, screw it, I'm going to include it in the Season 1 analysis, which is the hour-long Christmas special. So, buckle up, because next one's going to be really long.
'Tis a Gift opens with a very special Christmas-themed intro. We actually open with Shining Time Station being the busiest it's ever been. I mean, for God's sake, there's more than one customer. It's Christmas time at Shining Time Station, and everyone is doing what they can to make the season possible. Such as Schemer, who wants to become Santa's helper because he thinks it will do good for his arcade. Mr. King then walks in, looking very confused amongst meeting a new person at the station. This is Tucker, Harry's cousin. I don't know why Harry isn't in this episode. Maybe they just couldn't afford him for this extra long special episode. Maybe he just didn't feel like doing it. I don't know, but we have his cousin in here instead of Harry himself, which is weird because Tucker really only has this scene and a scene later on, so I don't know why Harry's actor didn't want to do this episode for some reason. Mr. King asked Tucker if he's met Mr. Conductor yet, saying that he has a present for him and make sure that he gets it. Mr. Conductor then sneaks by the both of them and grabs it. I don't know why Mr. Conductor doesn't want to be seen by Mr. King. He's a little weird.
It sure is busy around here.
We actually have people here for once. So Matt and Tanya look and sound noticeably way older than they did in the last episode. And that is most likely due to the fact that this episode came out a whole year and a half after the last one. So these kids definitely did some aging in between them. With the station being busier than usual and the kids not really having a whole lot to do to help out, Stacy tells them to go write their letters to Santa. Set the mood. The kids... Why are you barking? Why are you barking? There better not be any multiversal shenanigans happening this time. You remember what happened last year, right? I showed up in that... right there. I showed up right there in that field. And you were barking at me. And then Gendar teleported me to another dimension. Do you remember that? Because I do. I believe there's more multiversal shenanigans going on, Mia, because I remember a few months ago there was a weird flash going on in here. Yeah, there was like a really weird flash. And let me get down to your level. There was a weird flash going on in here. Right? And last I checked, SpongeBob and Crazy were in here. And after the flash, I came in to see what happened, and SpongeBob and Professor Crazy were gone. Maybe they were teleported into another dimension, another universe, or maybe they're dead. To be honest, Mia, I honestly don't know where my friends are. It's kind of scary. Like, it's honestly really freaking terrifying to know that my friends are out there in danger, possibly somewhere in another universe, and I just can't get to them. Like, they're in danger. Meanwhile, I'm making over 30 YouTube videos in a row about a talking train. So freaking stupid, really. As I was saying, to set the mood, the kids put on a song, which is a rockin' cover of To Grandmother's House We Go. After the song, the mayor walks up to Stacy saying that he wants to hold the pageant for Santa's helper at Shining Time Station. Stacy's like, oh, hey, sure. The conductor then helps the kids finish their letters to Santa, with the kids asking Mr. C if he's ever met Santa. Mr. Conductor responds that no, he hasn't. He tells them that in order to pass the time quicker, they should go ahead and play outside. But first, he tells them a Thomas story, which, in the version I found on YouTube, they used the HD version available on most Thomas and Friends DVDs in the UK, rather than the one from the recording on VHS, which means that it is drastically different from the rest of this episode. After the story, Mr. Conductor mails the kids letters to Santa, and Stacy has a chat with a friend about who could be Santa's helper. After that, Stacy's friend Claire calls her asking her if she can watch her daughter Vicky, who Matt and Tanya infamously hate.
What is your problem? Vicky, she's horrible!
What is it with kids shows and horrible girls named Vicky? Stacy tells the kids, hey, shut up, she's probably nice. And oh my god, a commercial break! After the break, we cut to Schemer, who is eating as much food as he possibly can in order to become Santa's helper. Stacy's saying that he's missing the point entirely, since he only wants to become Santa's helper in order to promote his business, saying that Stacy will be a much better Santa's helper than him. Schemer says, you're just a little girl. You sexist. Afterwards, Tucker comes in with a Christmas tree, and behind him is a guy named Mr. Nicholas, who's dressed like Pee Wee Herman for some reason. Mr. Nicholas says that he's here to catch the winter star. Stacy's saying that they don't have a train called that. Mr. Nicholas then points out that, oh, I know you, Stacy. You wanted all these toys when you were a kid, and did I mention I'm Santa Claus? Because I'm very, very obviously Santa Claus. Okay, so the episode technically never flat out says that he's Santa Claus, but like, he's Santa. He's obviously supposed to be Santa. He even winks to Mr. Conductor at the end of the episode. He's Santa Claus. Then Vicky shows up, and we as the audience get to see why Matt and Tanya don't really like her very much.
I like your sweater. This thing, my mother made it for me. I think I look stupid.
Yes.
So while Vicky continues to be the worst, Schemer also continues to be the worst. God,
Everyone's just the worst in this episode.
oh, and I guess because this is a very special episode of Shining Time Station, the band gets 4 songs in this episode. The second one is Jingle Bells. After the song, Stacy is rightfully pissed about all the posters Schemer has been putting up against her. Mr. King then shows up, stating to Stacy that there is no Winter Star train coming by. He says this to Mr. Nicholas, but Mr. Nicholas insists that his train is coming. Schemer then tries to bribe Mr. King into making him Santa's helper. It doesn't really work. The kids are decorating the tree, but Vicky is just not having fun at all and just kind of being a dick about everything. Then she runs away and sits next to Mr. Nicholas. Mr. Nicholas, trying to cheer the kid up, since he's Santa Claus and all, tells her that, hey, maybe don't be so mean and just try to have fun and people will like you. And she's like, okay, and then they have a little fun decorating the rest of the tree. She also thinks that Mr. Conductor is an ornament, so she just puts him in the tree for like 5 minutes.
They made a Mr. Conductor doll for this episode. Oh my god, I need that.
Stacy's friend from earlier shows up. Schemer tries to bribe her. It doesn't work. After the band's third song of the episode, the kids are almost done decorating the tree. But just as Vicky's about to put the angel on top, she accidentally knocks over the tree. And Matt and Tanya think that she did it on purpose. And so she runs away. After the commercial break, Mr. Conductor finally gets out of the tree and then tells the kids, hey, maybe Vicky did that on purpose and maybe you guys should be a little nicer to her. Just saying. Mr. King then stops by to ask if Mr. Conductor got his present. Stacy says, yeah, he got it. Seeing that Vicky is sad, Mr. Nicholas comes over to comfort her. And then he shows her a video in the viewing machine on how there are several people who have nowhere to go on Christmas and spend Christmas Day alone. And that makes Vicky think, hey, maybe I should be a lot more nicer than I've been. Maybe try to cheer my mom up by singing. Schemer then tries to bribe the mayor, and it doesn't work. And then Mr. Conductor tells us the final Thomas story of the season. Yay! After hearing the party Thomas and friends had, the kids want to throw a party at Shiny Time Station, wanting to invite Vicky since they're not mad at her anymore. Vicky then expresses to Mr. Nicholas on how much she wants to meet the real Santa Claus in order to tell him something. So naturally, she gets really excited when she sees that Schemer is in the Santa's helper outfit, but he reveals that he's just the guy who owns the arcade. But Schemer tries to cheer the kid up at least, stating that the big guy, the real big guy, is probably out there somewhere. Feeling bad that her mom won't be able to get a good present this year, Mr. Nicholas tells Vicky that presents aren't just things in papers and bows. And so she figured that giving her mom a nice thing, something that will make her happy, will be more than enough. So she's like, hey, why don't I just sing? Mr. Nicholas then leaves for his train, which apparently has arrived to the station, much to the confusion of Stacy. The mayor then comes in order to announce who Santa's helper is going to be. And once the winner is revealed, nobody is happy with the results and they're all fighting. And in order to prevent the fighting from going any further, Vicky starts singing a Christmas carol and everyone stops to listen to her. And they're all happy now and her mother is so proud of her. And everybody's happy, everyone's dancing, everyone's made up, everyone's singing. And they're all just having the merriest of Christmas and the happiest of holidays. And this is how the first season of Shining Time Station comes to a close. This episode was a really good Christmas special that definitely knew how to tug at those heartstrings and get those emotional, special, warm Christmas feelings, which is important to have at a young age, like the target audience of this show. So I applaud this episode for attempting to do the heartwarming Christmas aspect for children that young. It is definitely an emotional episode, and it gives you into the Christmas spirit, even though it's freaking September right now. But anyway, guys, that is Shining Time Station Season 1. Now, before we move on to Thomas and Friends Season 3 in tomorrow's video, I just want to state a few things. The show so far is a bit of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, it is an enjoyable, fun, timeless little children's show, much like Thomas and Friends. But on the other hand, it is a very repetitive show that is very long, and a couple of the characters, mainly Schemer, just get way too annoying for me. But then again, repetition is fine when you are making a children's show because kids like things repeated to them. But overall, I would say that at least the first season, Shining Time Station is a pretty enjoyable watch. I enjoyed my time watching these episodes. And as a memory from my childhood that is almost completely blank, like Shining Time Station, it was kind of fun revisiting this show while also experiencing for the first time both at the same time. It's kind of weird, my relationship with this show at this point. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the Shining Time Station Season 1 analysis portion of SteamTember, and please be sure to join us tomorrow where we will begin Thomas and Friends Season 3. We're finally getting to some Thomas stuff in this Thomas and Friends themed month. But until then, I will see you later. Bye!